Have you been thinking about starting your own business? Today's podcast, we're going to go over ways for you to make a lot of money and be able to hand down a business for generations. What's going on, everybody? It is the Residual Earners podcast, episode 16. That's crazy. I'm Jordan.
I'm Presley.
And today we're going to go over how to create a lasting business that you can pass down for generations, keys, points, tips, and tricks we've learned along the way for something you can have and hold for a long time. We're excited about this episode. What is going on, Presley?
You know, it's just good to be here.
It's good to be here.
It's
good to be back.
I've actually been more excited probably about this podcast than I have most, because I think this is going to add value to a lot of people that are thinking about starting a business. Did you know that in the first quarter of 2022, which was the last stats I could find, there were 347,000 new businesses started?
That's awesome.
Pretty crazy when you think about it. In other words, we've got some entrepreneurs out there listening to us.
Definitely. Entrepreneurs getting out there and making dreams a reality. And, you know, I think the value add we're trying to get is those entrepreneurs, they listen to us and we're able to give them advice on how to create a business that you know, doesn't go out of business in the first 5 years like most do, and something that lasts a lifetime. Well,
and the stats I could find was that 80% of startup businesses make it 1 year. 10 years later, there's only 35% of them. So basically 1 out of 3 make it 10 years.
No.
We want to help you make sure you're one of those that makes it long-term, that lasts for generations, not just for a little while.
Definitely. No, and that's what we're here to do today. Before we get into the meat and potatoes, guys, remember, we are doing a book giveaway, both of Coach's books here. We're going to do signed copies that will be sent to your doorstep. And all you have to do to enter is subscribe to the channel, comment free books, comment that in the comments, free books, so we know how to decide which ones of you actually are in it for the book. So do free books and then like the video. And we will send signed copies. We're doing 3 of them. We will pick them probably the end of the month and send those right to your doorstep. We're excited about that. That's really good content in here.
You know, we might even bust out and do 5.
We might bust out, depending on the feedback we get, how many, you know, comment down free book in the comment section. We can do more.
You know, and I told the group on last week's podcast that 3, 5, whatever we end up giving away, I mean, I will call you. You can sit there and ask me questions for a while. I'll try to add a little personal touch to it to make it worthwhile for you. But you'll get the books, and then, you know, we'll get to talk a little bit. I'll get to know you.
Awesome. Well, let's dive into it, because obviously today, you know, what we want to get accomplished by the end of this podcast today is someone knows and has good advice on how to create a lasting business. So, you know, let's jump into it and get moving.
Well, you know, really what I want to go over is, you know, and what Jordan and I are going over is what it takes to start up, build, and create a great business that's going to last. And that's what we want to work on today. We'll go back and forth with points. And, you know, understand that I started a real estate investment company years ago, back when I was coaching.
The Property Line.
The Property Line. As a matter of fact, you found that picture.
I found a picture in the paper of the Property Line.
Yeah, we've done that. Obviously, I have created a networking company that has sent probably $9 billion to the top line. We've done car dealerships. We have now started an auto transport company. You know, it's not like we're just sitting here making this stuff up, guys. We've actually done it.
Circuit board company.
We got a printed circuit board company. I forgot about that one. But we're going to go over some of the things, and understand we will tell you some of our screw ups, because we have definitely had some screw ups. But hopefully, instead of you having to learn from the mistake, you can learn some from our mistakes and be able to dodge those anyway. I promise you, anytime you start up a business, you're going to have a couple of screw ups, but hopefully we'll help you dodge a few of them.
Definitely. No. Let's jump into it, though.
What
is the first point we have there?
You know, we want to start a business that's going to last. And I mean, you know, you think about it and you think of all these great companies and you think, wow, what a massive company. when you really dig down into it, it's usually they started in somebody's dorm room, or they started in somebody's garage, or they started. So you never know where your business is going to go. If you come up with a good idea and you're willing to put in the sweat equity to get it going, there's no telling where this thing can go with you, because we haven't seen all the great companies. I'll give you some lasting companies real quick here. 1812 Citigroup started. 1837 Procter & Gamble started. 1850 American Express started. 1886 Johnson & Johnson. We know J&J. 1892 General Electric. 1945 Sony. Boy, they're one of the newer ones, 1945. And then Walmart started in 1945 as well. So, I mean, these great companies, they started small. I mean, Sam Walton started with 1 5 and dime. I mean, think that through. And it took years before he came up with the Walmart concept. And then like the first 10 years, he had 7 Walmarts. But then after that, it blew up to like 3,000 Walmarts. So, yeah, you're going to start small. We've started small on everything we've done. But if you lay out a vision and get going, you're going to have a chance to expand it into something that could be big. And I hope you have big dreams, because I think it is so much the co-founders or the founders, however many there are of you wanting to start this business, that you got to have the big dream. And if you got the big dream and a vision of what you want to accomplish, you can do great and mighty things.
Definitely. And it's all about long-term vision, creating that roadmap, knowing where you want to get, and then backtracking, which we've gone over in podcasts before, backtracking and putting the puzzle pieces together on how to get there.
Well, I think for all of us, the long-term vision is key. In other words, you've got to decide now what you want your business to look like in 1 year, 3 year, 5 years. Now, are you going to adjust that as you go? Oh, absolutely. But we can't just get out there and hope it turns out all right. We've got to have a roadmap. The Bible tells us that without vision, the people perish. I mean, the Bible is a great business book if you want to read the Bible, guys. But we've got to have a vision of where we want to go. What are our goals? What are the numbers we're shooting for? We've got to have that long-term vision so we understand what we want this thing to look like in the future.
Definitely. And it's, you got to have that vision, and it's something we've done in every one of our businesses, is sit down and create the 1, 3, 5, and 10-year plans, and knowing how we're going to get there, which is so huge. And I hope you guys do that in your own businesses. If you start up, know where you're going, create that culture, create exactly what you want, and then put it into action. Which kind of leads us into kind of point number 2 of this whole deal, is building a strong foundation. And guys, listen to me on this. Building a foundation is key. You build brick by brick and build a company. Every day, placing one brick down that'll get you where you want to go long term. And the bricks are, it's hard work, it's dedication, it's creating processes. Lay brick by brick. And then after a period of time, you look and you've built the foundation for your business. And I can't emphasize enough how important it is that you lay the foundation brick by brick.
Well, I jotted a couple of things down in my notes, Jordo, that I wanted to really cover on this part, because I think it's so key. You need to do some market research. And I don't mean you've got to have some degree in that, guys, but we need to figure out, if we're going to start a business, what business are we going to start? And is there a market for that business? Is it a business that industry is going down? Is it a industry that's going up? What kind of competition do we have? Not that we're scared of competition, but we do need to know who our competition is. So I think it's important that we do market research. I think it's important that we have a solid business plan, and you can address that because you just got through making one for S2, but we need a solid business plan. You need to know what we're trying to accomplish, how we're trying to accomplish it, what we're shooting for, stuff like that. And then we need a vision statement. That's just basically a mission statement, guys, is really what I'm talking about. You need to let the public know what it is you're offering, who you're offering it to, and why are you offering it. A mission statement, that got big a few years ago, and I love mission statements. We spent days coming up with mission statements for our companies, but a mission statement is critical. And as far as market research, who's your ideal customer, existing competition, what's the expected growth and demand? I mean, there's just a lot of things that go into getting that foundation together before you ever open the doors to your business.
Definitely. Like we just said, brick by brick. But one thing you mentioned, which kind of took me back to when we were, finding locations for dealerships, was don't be afraid of competition. And, for instance, in the car business, there's a reason why you see all the dealerships across the highway from one another together, because that's where the market is for individuals to come and buy cars. If all of the market, for us in Dallas, close to my house off the tollway, and the Frisco, Plano area, you have every single dealership just lined up down the freeway. If you're sitting off on your own, nowhere close to where everybody's going, then you're losing out on the action. And that competition is great because everybody's marketing is bringing your buyer to the area where they can drive by and say, hey, you know what? Actually, I was going that route. I would like to go that route. And, I can give an example. We bought my wife a car over a year ago, went to Lexus in Frisco, and then ended up saying, oh, there's another dealership across the way that has something I think could work. We end up driving across the street, had no intention of ever stopping in their store, but driving across the street, test driving, saying, wow, this works for our family, and actually buying the car that we had no intention of ever doing, and we've loved it since, all because, the competition was there, their marketing brought us in, and then we went our different way once we got there.
No, it's key to have your foundation. It's key to do your research. You don't want to make knee-jerk decisions when you're starting a business. It's better to start it a month later, 6 months later, than it is to run out there and start it and not be ready.
Definitely. And I think with S2, recently when we were starting it last year, I thought this was going to be something quick, get up and going fast. And, after doing all of the licensing, getting registered, getting our authority done, getting accounts set up, all this different stuff, it ended up taking 6 months when I thought it was 2 months. But like you just said, we've got enough experience now. I'm not rushing anything. Make sure everything is lined out. Everything is how it should be. We're not cutting any corners. We're not taking any chances that could get us shut down quickly. Take that extra time, and if it's an extra month or two, it's worth it to push it out to make sure that everything's right, where you can, day one, when that bell goes off, you can really get a jump start and take off.
Oh, absolutely. The next thing, Jordan, I think, or at least I have on my list, I know your list is a little different, but on mine is you've got to have a customer-centric approach.
Definitely.
It's all about the customer. And I'll give you just a quick example. When we started the auto dealerships, they're subprime. They're buy here, pay here dealerships. Well, a lot of the folks that are used to going to buy here, pay here dealerships, they don't get the best treatment.
Definitely.
They're treated in a lot of cases like second-class citizens, whatever, and that is certainly not the case. We're all created equal. But what Jordan and I decided was, here in the Metroplex, there's a dealership called Sewell. And I mean, they are known far and wide. Now, they're not buy here, pay here. They're selling Mercedes and BMWs and Lexus and Cadillacs and all the high dollar cars. But they are known for their service. And what Jordan and I decided is that we wanted our buy here, pay here dealership to have Sewell type service.
Definitely.
And we worked hard, and we got to the point where we had we put in Keurig machines so that when the customer come in, they could get themselves some coffee. We had snacks laid out, and that was not the norm, and still isn't the norm for buy here, pay here dealerships. We wanted the customer to feel wanted. We tried to greet them the minute they walked in the door. We tried to give them great customer service. If they had an issue, we were working on that. And I just think that is so key that no matter what business you're in, you've got to make sure that customer feels wanted.
Definitely. And in the car business, we had our core values on the walls that when that customer came in and saw them right at the front door, they knew what to expect and they could hold us accountable. So they could see that, customers first with us. And I think that's so huge that the customer knows it. And I don't think it matters how good your product is at the end of the day, no matter what type of business you're in. If you do not have the customer service to back it up, because there's always going to be issues, it's hard to really get anywhere. And I'm sure some companies do, but overall, focus on customer service. Be there on days, because that's when your customer's having the roughest day, especially in the car business. Their car breaks down, whatever it may be. And you've got to have somebody on the customer service side that says, hey, calms down the situation, makes them feel good, but then is able to back up your product and solve their problem. Customer service is solving the customer's problem. And I think that's overlooked. It's not just sitting there and answering the phone call thinking you did something. You have to solve their problem.
No, and I'm going to give you another example. And the Texas restaurant's not paying me for this, but I'm gonna tell you. I went there last night. We had a meeting across the street, so I got there early. Went to what's called the Texas restaurant. It's there at George Bush and Jupiter. If you're around, I'm going to highly recommend this place. And I'm not making money for this. It's just word of mouth. I'm telling you, it was phenomenal. But the gentleman that started that is a guy named Dale. And some of you guys, if you've been around the Metroplex, and I don't know how far they are out from the Metroplex, but it's called Del Frisco Steakhouse, which is one of the greatest steakhouses that I've been to. He sold those years ago, and he started Texas Restaurant. And what made me think of that when we were talking about this, it's not even really in my notes, was when I walked in, they greet you. My gosh, they're smiling. Shelby, his daughter, who is the manager there, comes up and talks to you and makes you feel welcome. And after you've been there once, she gets to know you. And I mean, she sees you again, she's talking to you. And get this, Dale, who I think he's 83 years old, come up to our table and said, I just want you to know I appreciate y'all's business. And I mean, I'm just sitting there going, wow. And I mean, my water glass wouldn't get an inch down till they're filling it back up again. And it's one of those situations where it just makes me want to go back to that establishment.
Definitely.
And, it's not a high-dollar steakhouse. It's not a cheap place, but it's not a high-dollar steakhouse. But they treat you so phenomenally well, and the food is so good that it makes you want to go back. And that customer-centric approach, whether it's the car business or restaurants, or maybe you got an online business. Jordan, talk real quick about under-promising and over-delivering, because I think that is key.
Definitely. Under promise, over deliver. You always want your customer to leave whatever business it is being wowed by the service. And if you're promising the world and not delivering that, they're going to leave feeling like, hey, I'm probably not going back, no matter what it is, whether it's a restaurant, like you said, a retail store, anything. So guys, you have to set the bar high and say, hey, here's the expectation that I expect out of everybody. And this is what we're going to give the customer. But we need to go above and beyond in any way possible to make someone feel special. And people that feel special will always come back to your business.
Amen. I'm going to hit just a couple of points here that I wrote down, and then we'll move to our next point, our next big point. But, make the customer experience a priority. Take steps to focus on what's important to your customer. Look at everything from your customer's point of view, which I think is key.
Huge.
Solve problems before they impact your customer. Try to figure out where you're going to see the glitches and fix it before it reaches your customers. And then I'll say this, and we did this, and that is invest in training and support for your customer service team. That is just some points I jotted down. I'm not going to spend a lot of time dwelling on them, but I do think those are key. Now, this next big point, I want you to cover, because you're a little younger than I am, Jordan, but it is, embrace innovation. I think innovation is essential for businesses to remain relevant.
Definitely.
In today's world, things change so fast that you've got to embrace. And thankful to you've kind of got us going even with this podcast with some innovation. And just hit on that a little bit about people being aware of needing to do that.
Definitely. A good example, and guys, we're giving the real life examples that we have gone through as business owners, which, I think is helpful to everybody. But in the car business, the subprime market, the buy here, pay here space is definitely old school. It's not done looking into the future. It's always, this is how it's always been done, and we're keeping it that way. And something, we like to do is, hey, how can we make this process easier for a customer? Can we move it all online? Now, a customer can still come into store, and if somebody likes it the old way, we can still do that. But hey, for all these younger kids that are turning 18, going to college, getting their first job, that need help, they want to be on their phones. So let's make it where it's super easy. They can get the whole thing done on their phones. Let's create a website that has better pictures than everywhere else with the photo booths that we put in where, pictures are unbelievable, which is not common in our business. Everything we were doing was to get ahead of the competition, which is, I'm not going to say making processes simple is super, innovative, but it's not sitting still, it's moving forward. And I think at the end of the day, that's what innovation is. It's, guys, what problems can we solve? What can we make easier for our customers? And let's create something that does that for our customer.
Yeah. Talk DocuSign real quick.
DocuSign, definitely. That was another deal. Our whole goal was that a customer could buy from their couch and the car could be delivered. So, they could go through the whole process online. Once it got submitted through underwriting, went and was approved, then a DocuSign document would be sent right to the customer. They could pay online. Everything could be done sitting at home on the couch on your phone without ever coming in, which is huge, creating a simpler process for your customer.
I've got to give Jordan credit where credit's due. He's the one that came up with most of this, not me. I'm kind of low tech, but he's pretty high tech, and he's dragging me along. I might be kicking and screaming, but he's kind of dragging me along.
Well, we got a lot of tech and innovation in this room now, so it's it's always evolving, and that's what I want to do for the podcast as well. Is always stay out in front. And I think looking at the podcast for you guys that watch it online, there's new stuff behind us. There's different lights. There's different cameras. We're always trying to be better, and that's what innovation is. It's not sitting still.
No. We've got 3 new cameras pointing at us now, so the quality's better. We've got bigger, better lights, and it wasn't like we had bad lights to begin with, but we got bigger, better lights. We've even got lights casting color on the walls and stuff. I mean, Jordan's doing this first class, guys, and it's back to that innovation. You gotta stay up with the times. But anyway, all right, Jordo, effective leadership and team building. Talk about that.
Something you said earlier with going to the Texas restaurant was how Mr. Frisco would come to your table.
Oh, Dale.
And come and talk to you. Effective leadership is showing your team how it's done. Effective leadership is being in the trenches with your team members and helping them out. And I think especially, for instance, customer-facing businesses, talking to customers, letting them know they're cared about, asking how their experiences was, getting real-time feedback's huge. If you're not customer-facing, just being in the office with your team, letting them know that, hey, if you got a problem, I'm here to help you, because as the leader, you should know everything. There shouldn't be anything that you don't know how to do within your business. You should know it front to back, back to front. And so any problem they have, them knowing that, hey, my boss, owner of the company, whoever it is right there with me, and all he wants or she wants is to pull the rope the same way and everybody help everybody. And that's effective leadership. And it goes back to brick by brick. What I talked about earlier is, lay this thing brick by brick. And it's the leader being in the trenches helping lay those bricks.
Oh, absolutely. In the car business, I would be walking out front of the buildings and there'd be trash. I'm picking it up. Some of it was a little bit nasty. I picked it up. If I happened to walk in the bathroom and it needed some attention, I took care of it. Not that we didn't have custodians and stuff. We did, but I wanted my team, my leaders, the managers to see that I was not too good to get out there and pick up some trash, that I wasn't too good to help clean up the bathroom a little bit. I wanted them to understand that we all pitch in and none of us are too good. No job is too small for us to do. And I think it was key. Now, you got to understand when you're looking for that team, there's a couple of things. I jotted a couple of things down that we looked for when we were hiring people, and it helped. One is integrity, accountability, empathy, humility, vision. We definitely want people with vision, especially in leadership roles. They have influence, and they've got direction of the organization. They can see a direction. And I'm gonna say this. I think this is so key. And Jordan and I learned this the hard way. But you've got to be slow to hire and quick to fire. Jordan, hit on that a little bit because we've learned a couple of tough lessons in that regard.
Definitely, yeah. It's getting the right people in the right seats, which we've said a lot. But we've had a sales manager before that spent more time at Hooters. You remember, you remember that guy? Spent more time at Hooters than he did in the office, and he's taking company cars, and all of our cars have GPSs on it. So we're like, where did he go? Well, pull it up on the computer. Let's see where he went. Oh, he's sitting at a restaurant eating lunch where he shouldn't be right now. So you think you find the right person. We hire that guy quick, and then it's, this was a mistake. Let's rethink this. And, another thing, from where we were, that was early on days, to where we are now, we're hiring a COO for the logistics and hauling business. And I mean, this process has taken 4 months. And it's just, how many lunches, how many talks, how many all of these things have we had to make sure that we have the right person before we go off and do something that could hurt the business down the road. And, one other thing that I want to say, and listen to this, if you want to be a leader and you are not leading by example, you're not really a leader. And I think a great example of this would be Elon Musk, growing a company now to over $200 billion, and he is there, he is putting in the time, and he is showing his team what needs to be done, and he's leading his team with innovation. And I think it's a great example to look at if you're trying to figure out what I need to do to show my team how to get stuff done. Elon Musk would be a great guy to actually listen to and look at what he's doing.
Absolutely. I'm going to throw one more thing in on let's hire slow and fire fast, and that is what Jordan and I did, and it's because of our compassion. We kept thinking we could talk people into doing better. And I'm not saying you don't give people a chance. I mean, we do. But Jordan and I were bad about we'd give them a chance, and then we'd give them another chance, and then we'd talk to them one more time, and then Jordan would say, well, let me talk to them, and then all of a sudden 3 months has gone by, and they haven't done any better, and the people on the team that are working hard are seeing them lagging, and we just learned that when you realize that you need to do something, you need to make a cut, you got to do it. Just make the cut. Because I would dare say, am I right on this? Every time we drug it out and didn't do it, once we did it, we go, we should have done this 2 months ago.
Definitely. You always think it's going to be so much harder, and they do so much, and we can't pick up the slack. And then the day they're gone, they're like, okay, this wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be.
No,
it's actually much better culture.
Oh, and it's speaking of culture, let's hit a little culture now, because I think the difference between an okay company and a good to great company is the culture. And I know we don't have a whole lot of time left, and we still want to cover some more stuff, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but I believe whether you are in the the online business or the network marketing business or a traditional business like the car business or the restaurant business, whatever, I believe your culture is going to determine if you're just okay or if you're real good. And we worked hard. Not worked, I guess that's not past tense. We work hard with all of our companies to create the right culture. And I'm just going to read them off to you real quick here because, again, we don't have time on this podcast to spend a lot of time on it. But it's going to all start with you, Mr. Owner, Mrs. Owner, Miss Founder, Miss Co-Founder, whoever this is. If you're the one that's starting this, your company is going to have a culture, whether by design or default. So you want to make sure and design the culture that you want with your company. The culture of high energy. I think you've got to come in and be excited. If you want everybody else to be excited, you better be excited. My buddy says that if you're fired up, everybody around you will get fired up. People will come from miles around to watch you be fired up. You got to get excited. Number two, the culture of learning and growing. You got to have that culture of learning and growing. And like we were talking about with the customer service, we want to keep them growing and learning and getting better. We want our salespeople to get better. So you got to have that culture. Culture of recognition. My gosh, you want to point out wins. You want to point out when somebody does something good. Babies cry for it and grown men die for it. Recognition is huge. The culture of being passionate. I've got to the point where I'm passionate about this podcast. I love doing this podcast. I feel like we're adding value to people's lives. We get comments all the time about how we've helped people. I'm excited about this. You got to be passionate. Be transparent in your company. I think that is huge. You got to be transparent. Have a culture of getting feedback. You want to ask people, what do you think? I'm not saying we're going to do everything they tell us, but we want to get their feedback. And then have a culture of communicating. You want to communicate with your team, guys. That is so key. But that's just some culture stuff that I really believe culture is much more important than a lot of times we think it is.
Definitely. No. And we're running up against time here, but let's jump down a couple of points here. For one that could take a little bit of time, and that's learning from failures and success. Always, take time in decision making. Think back to past decisions that can help you in this. Talk to people, read books, self-growth. All these different things lead to your decision making. And make a mistake one time, don't make it again.
Well, I might have talked about this on one of our previous podcasts, but I always say that I either win or I learn. I don't feel like I lose. Now, understand, we've made some decisions where we lost some pretty serious money, but I try not to look at it like I lost. I try to look at it like I learned. And I'll tell you this, you're going to learn so much more from your screw-ups than you are from when everything's rolling smooth. We learned in the car business that you can't just watch the big numbers. You've got to watch the percentages. You've got to see, because if you're in a growth phase and a lot of new sales, you can cover up stuff that's going on that you just don't notice because the numbers are going up. Now, in hindsight, they should have been going up a whole lot more. And if we'd have been looking at percentages of the total portfolio, we would have grasped a whole lot more of what was really happening. And that was just something we had to learn. It wasn't that we weren't looking, but we just weren't looking at the right things. So you're going to learn stuff along the way, and it's going to make a huge difference in your future success. But understand, business is an emotional roller coaster. So don't get too high on the good days, but don't get too low on the bad days, because there's going to be good days and bad days. You're going to have days where everything's going perfect, and you're going to have days where it seems like everything's going wrong. Just get through it, but learn from the mistakes, learn from your screw-ups, and I promise you, the screw-ups, you won't let those happen again.
Definitely.
Because they're painful. So you're either going to win or you're going to learn.
Definitely. And, that's something that we can kind of throw in here. One of the last points for today would be, learn your KPIs, your key performance indicators, know those. If you're starting a new business, talk to somebody in the space where you can figure out what those are, because just saying, hey, I want a positive bottom line, that's not, there's so many different things that lead to that. So, hey, I want to make this much money with this business, go backwards and say, okay, what do I need to do to actually get there? What do sales need to be? What do collections need to be? What do, accounts receivable balances, whatever it may be, know where you need to be and monitor so much closer than just the bottom line at the end of the month. No, every day, one thing we do a lot of is building these dashboards that are updating with real-time data, and exactly where you sit at all times. I think that's huge to track metrics. If you can get it set up, and it may not be day one, but have dashboards set up that are reading the data, that are then relaying the message to you of, hey, we're doing great. Hey, this needs some help. Hey, we really need, all hands on deck for this issue right now, because this has gone wrong. Catch the problems before they become big problems.
Absolutely. And just throwing this in, but, your revenue's huge, your profit margins are huge, but I'm going to tell you the one that sometimes we fail to look out for early, and that is cash flow.
Yeah.
Because all of a sudden your business takes a big jump, and now your account receivables have gone way up. My gosh, I got $250,000 in accounts receivables, but that's net 60.
Yeah.
Well, that means they got 60 days to pay those. I got payroll coming up in 2 weeks. What am I going to do? My account receivables look great. We've been selling a lot, but I need money to make payroll. Yeah. I mean, some of that stuff will kind of bite you in the butt if you're not watching out for it. If you don't think about it, that accounts receivables, yes, you want them to be about 3 or 4 times what your accounts payable are, but you also got to understand you got to have enough money cash flowing to be able to do the things that have to be done, like payroll, guys. So just understand, I look at cash flow now, and this is a learned mistake. I didn't used to look at it real closely. Now I look hard at cash flow because I realize that you're going to have to pay some things, and you got to be able to do that.
Definitely. And, it's great that you've got accounts receivable, but they got to pay.
Yeah.
You can have all the accounts receivable in the world, but if you don't collect the money, then at the end of the day, you got nothing.
Really?
Which also makes a situation in itself.
I think we learned that a little bit too, didn't we?
And then the last thing I think for today would just be building the brand, and I'll kind of let you touch on that a little bit.
Well, we work hard, whether it's the printed circuit board company, whether it was the car business, whether it's S2, which is the auto hauling and logistics, whether it's network marketing. You want to have a good name. You want to get the brand out there. When people see it, you want them to think positive thoughts. I mean, I think it is so key to do that in the car business. We bought this massive trailer that had strobe lights and sound system and all, and we'd get in parades where we had our name on it, and we would get in parades in the towns where we were doing business because we wanted people to see our name, to see our brand. We would have Taco Tuesday at some of the dealerships where we would give away tacos, and people could come in Tuesday from 5 to 7 and get tacos, but they had a positive feeling about our brand. I could go on and on, but you kind of get the picture. You really want to have a positive impact on your community when people see the name of your business, whether it's online or on a storefront. You want them to have a good feeling about that, and branding is so important. And as you get bigger, obviously, you're going to get somebody that you're going to pay for your marketing and stuff. But starting off, just learn. You can do some small things. Remember, we got bounce houses and all kinds of stuff that we would do on a Saturday morning and let the neighborhood families come in with their kids and have a good time, and we'd have ice cream and hot dogs, and we would do anything we could to get that good feel out there that when they saw the name of our business, they got excited about it.
Definitely. And that's just one of the bricks that you have to lay when starting a business.
Well, guys, I understand we have not covered, my gosh, we could spend 3 more hours going over stuff right now, but hopefully that gives you an idea of some of the things you need to be doing as you're thinking about this. Now, understand, Jordan said, it took 6 months to get S2 off the ground, not 2 months. Well, it may take you longer than you think, but hopefully this will at least give you a base of some things to think about. And if there's more that you want us to cover, something in depth, put it in the comments down there. We don't mind going. I mean, I can go in depth in all of that, but we try to hold these to 30, 40 minutes. And, I didn't want to spend a lot of time getting into the weeds, but we certainly can with you if there's a topic you want us to get in the weeds on.
Definitely, yes. As always, guys, if you're listening on any of the podcast platforms, go to YouTube, follow us, subscribe to the channel, leave comments. Like Presley's saying, we want to add value to your lives. We want to hear what you would like us to talk about, and within reason, we will definitely do that. So leave us a comment below. Like this video, it helps with the YouTube algorithms. We're here to add value to your lives, and we want this pushed out to as many people as want to listen to it. And we just can't thank y'all enough for stopping by. We launch these every Friday morning, and getting some good feedback. So we're excited to keep the train rolling.
16.
That
means 4 months.
4 months of these.
Jeez Louise.
That is so awesome. Love you.
Love you. Enjoy doing it.
Yes,
God
sir.
bless you guys. We will see you next week.
Thank y'all.